Hello, good evening. This is Santiago for the Universidad Técnica Particular de Loja. Here's my ID as requested. Let me show you. Yeah, good. So, today we are going to talk about there we go. Citing by me, Santiago Clay. Thank you very much. So, let's start. First of all, we need to know what is citing exactly. So, citing is whenever we want to make sure we give credit to the people who deserve it. Up to this point, we are very well aware of something. Everything, and I mean everything, has already been written. So, in that case, how do we give credit to the other authors who deserve it? That's pretty much citing. If we want to create something, we need to be aware that it's not going to be 100% original. We are going to base our ideas and our thoughts on someone else's. And giving credit is the best way to avoid committing the crime of plagiarism. Now, in order to talk about proper citations, we need to understand that there are two proper ways to cite sources within a text. So, the first one is the in-text narrative citation. And what is it? Very simple. According to Fitzpatrick in 2011, this in-text citation aims to inform the reader about the fact that the information that they are going to read was already written, was already thought by someone else, that it worked as an inspiration to us whenever we wrote something. So the information they are about to read was something that was already thought and maybe even written by someone else. But of course, we are paraphrasing it to make it like an easy tool for the reader to understand it in a better way, or at least to understand our perspective on it. Now, how does it work? Actually, we already saw it. But in order to write a proper narrative citation, we need to understand that we can use neutral or persuasive verbs. We can use neutral verbs if we want to, such as report, explain, tell, describe, state, relate, or say, if we want to simply let the reader know that they are going to check something that was already reported, explained, told, stated, described, related, or said by someone else. As simple as that. That is the only function. That's how it works. But then, if we want to persuade the reader, we want to make them fall into one of the sides of the balance, then we could use a persuasive verb, because we want the reader to understand that we are actually inclining onto someone else's thoughts, using words such as recommend, suggest, urge, or remind. We are making them understand that we are falling for their perspective, just one point of view, and we want the reader to engage into this point of view. Some good examples for the narrative citation would be, as stated before, actually the Fitzpatrick 2011. We also have Mendoza 2019, Vivanco 2021, and it is very important that we understand that it goes outside of the parentheses. This is very important. And the only thing that goes within the parentheses is the year when it was published. Now, we understand how to make narrative citations, but what about the other kind? The parenthetical in-text citations! Oh my god! I know, sounds like a really long name. It must be something very difficult, but it's not. It is super easy, super simple. What we want to use within a parenthetical citation is that when we state, what was stated within the parentheses, the paragraph, all the information that was already read, it was inspired in someone else's work. We use this kind of parenthetical citation at the end of the whole idea, probably the whole paragraph in most cases, and it's going to be in between parentheses, including all the information, the author, and then the year, separated with a comma. This is very important. Some examples for it, as we stated before, the Mendoza 2019, but now as you can see, it is everything, every single thing is within the parentheses, right? And it is separated by the comma. Please don't forget about that. It is very important. Now, some very popular questions about this, or frequently asked questions are, it's like, how do I cite when there are two authors, Santiago? What do I do in those cases? Glad you asked. When we have two or more authors, depending on if it's a narrative citation or if it's a parenthetical citation, we are going to use the word and, but in two different forms. If it's narrative, we simply write the word and outside of the parentheses, and then we include only within the parentheses the year. Okay? For example, Vargas and Espinosa outside of the parentheses, and then in between the year when their works were published. But on the other hand, if we are talking about parenthetical citation, then we use the ampersand. And you may be wondering, but Santi, what is an ampersand? Very simple. It's that beautiful symbol that actually shows up when you always press Shift 6. That's the ampersand. Now you know it. And that's why it's another way to say and, because it's the ampersand. So then we have the same kind of example, but now using the ampersand. Of course, if I read it, it's going to sound exactly the same, but it is different because I'm using the ampersand. It is important to respect this if we want to follow the APA norms. So I open my parentheses and then I state Vargas ampersand Espinosa 2018, and then I close my parentheses. Very simple. So Santi, does this mean that if I use if I want to state three or more authors, I only use commas and or the ampersand? No. Let me finish. When we have three or more authors, actually what we do is we use a beautiful new term called the et al. The et al is used in both cases, for the narrative citation and for the parenthetical citation. In the case of the narrative citation, we have to put it outside of the parentheses, and before the parentheses to state the year, as usual, we are going to write a period to separate these and let the reader know that there were three or more authors involved within this research. For instance, Benitez et al. Period, and in between parentheses the year when their works were published. And then we have the parenthetical citation. What do? We open our parentheses, we write only the last name of the first person. Okay, this is very important. We are only going to write one last name in both cases. Okay, if we use the et al, only one last name, please. Then we, as I was saying, we open the parentheses, we use Benitez et al, comma, 2019, and then I close my parentheses. As easy as that. That's everything. So now that we have everything clear, thank you very much, and a big shout out to Lady Adriana Vivanco Rios 2021 for making such an amazing guide. It was very easy to understand. Thank you and have a good one. That's it for me. Bye bye.